So everybody's talking about the Menendez brothers again because they might let him out. Well, I got something to say about that because I actually know Lyle. I did time with Lyle back in 1997 on the Tehachapi 4B yard. Now, I picked up a shoe in Pleasant Valley, and then at that time, they were turning the 4B yard into a shoe kick-out yard. So everybody who was getting kicked out of the shoe in the whole state of California was coming to Tehachapi at that time. Now, that was kind of a weird, wishy-washy type yard because there were still people with bad paperwork and skeletons in their closet that were hanging, around that yard, kind of laying low and stuff like that, because that's how the yard was before. So me, at the time, being a Sureño, we were always on lockdown because as soon as we come off lockdown, we were going right back on. We'd be off for maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks max, and then some shit would go down. They'd take somebody off the yard, and we'd get slammed down again. But those times that I did come off, because Lyle Menendez was my neighbor, I did have a couple conversations. I think I've had like 3 conversations with him that I can recall. And they weren't conversations where I asked him about his case or anything like that. They were just cordial conversations, just inmate to inmate type shit. And let me tell you something. I didn't get the killer vibe from Lyle Menendez at all, like the cold-blooded killer vibe that they paint him out to be. I've lived with killers. I've had 15 or more cellies that were cold-blooded killers. When you are on those higher level yards, the majority of people that are there are 25 to life, 35 to life, 50 to life, all that, in there for murder. There's not many people that are just coming in that have lower amounts of time. I mean, there's guys there with 10, 15 years that are younger because that's the way the point system works. And gang members, that's the way the point systems work in California. But I've been around a lot of fucking killers, people who just didn't give a fuck when they didn't have any remorse. If they ever get out, or they're gonna get out, they're gonna do it again. They don't care. They come into the prison system and they still keep doing the same shit and continue that role of a killer. And I've seen a lot of them. I've also seen people that were remorseful for what they did. But there was a different vibe coming off Lyle, and I can't really explain it, but it definitely was not a killer. When you're doing time in the higher level yards, you have got to be able to read everybody. You have to see everything, body language, demeanor, the way they talk. Because you always have to be on your toes. It's a survival instinct that you learn in there. And if you don't have that, you're going to get caught slipping and then some shit's going to pop off. So me having that skill to be able to read people and see, kind of right through them, because I could see through people pretty well. I saw Lyle and I didn't see killer on him. He was actually a really fucking nice guy. His personality wasn't up here, it wasn't down there. It was just kind of like right there in the middle. And the conversations that we had, I mean, he was pretty decent guy, someone to talk to. And I just want to say that I think that there's merit in them going back to court to actually see what happened that day, and why it went down. Because back in 1997, they weren't talking about the Hollywood elite and the crazy shit like the P. Diddy shit and all those people that were going to P. Diddy parties. That was all, they weren't talking about it. This is 97. Now it's coming out today. So you got to remember, Lyle and Eric's parents were in that elite scene. So you could just imagine the possibilities there, the probability of what they could have done to those kids. And me as a father, I mean, I have 3 children of my own, and I would hate for my children to ever have to do something like that to me. But I don't do, I treat my, I don't even want to, I treat my children really well, and I would hope that never happened to me. But you can just think, what their parents were doing. They were in that scene. And I always say, when people have so much money and so much fame in their lives, so much money and so much fame that they can buy anything they want in this world, it's no longer about money. Money doesn't matter. It's about power. And they start to do things that they're not allowed to do because they already got everything they want money-wise, property-wise, all these nice things. So what do? They want power, they want recognition, and they do illegal shit. Look at Jared from Subway, you know? Look at P. Diddy. P. Diddy had all that motherfucking money, but they were out there doing weird shit. Look at T.I. and Tiny. Look at all these people that have all this money, but they get into this fucking crazy circle and they start doing weird fucking shit. And that could be the case with Lyle and Eric. Now, I know they went out and spent money. They were driving nice cars, all that, but they were kids at the time. I mean, you don't understand what's going on in their head. Now, I don't fall for the excuse that, oh, kids don't know what they're doing, because they do. But after a traumatic situation like that, I don't know. And I'm not condoning what they did in any way, shape, or form. But I'm saying, if there's justice to be served and some stuff didn't come out in their testimony or anything like that, then we need to relook at things now, especially that everything's going on with Hollywood, the elites, and all that kind of shit. And these guys, they've been down for a long time. Think about it. I did time with him in 1997. That's almost 20 years ago. So he's been down maybe 25, 30 years, because he's been down for a minute. If, we're Gen Xers, we remember when that shit happened. But I'm just letting everybody know that I didn't get a killer vibe from him at all. And I really think that he was remorseful and regretted what he did. And he was very sad when I talked to him. And I'm not going to say crying, sniveling type sad. You could just see it in his face and in his eyes. And like I said, I've seen killers, and he wasn't one of them. So I think that, the courts and everybody looking back into this situation and really digging to the bottom of it, especially after all the stuff that's coming out with P. Diddy and them, I think people, the jury and everybody else is going to look at things different. And I hope these kids get justice. Now, I don't know Eric. I don't know his situation. Like I said, I didn't talk to Lyle or talk to him about, talk to Lyle about his case. But, I've watched it on the news. I followed it, and I knew who he was when I seen him and got to the yard. But it's just not a thing that we bring up in there. Like, hey man, what did you do? How did you do it? None of that shit. I just talked to him. Hey, how you doing? Blah, 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 this and that. And I didn't get killer vibes from him at all. So hopefully these kids get justice. I'm Casper. This is the American U Show. Thanks for watching.